Gotta be true to yourself. In a world there's nothing else. Gotta play the game right, gotta make your path. You scratch, you dig, you lay in your ground. You bustin' your rounds, nobody gon' stop you. No ops, no cops, everything about you. Looking good, you good, she good. Y'all people really wanna know the reason? It's that ripple effect. That's just that ripple. That's just that ripple effect. What you do, come back triple.
Hey, what's going on? It's your girl K-Dot back in the Ripple Effect. You already know what it is, and you already know the vibes. Hey, shout out to all the supporters. Can't thank you guys enough. So appreciative. Like I said, especially all the Facebook conversations, Instagram, even the personal conversations that I have with my friends on the phone that are calling me up with all different issues. I appreciate those different perspectives, as well as, you know, the knowledge. You know, let's face it, we're learning from one another as well. So I really appreciate that. That was really cool, and hopefully one day, you know, I'm gonna have them on as, you know, as a guest, and that's gonna be awesome, because I mean, I'm gonna have different guests for many different reasons. Hopefully, if not this weekend, earlier next week. I'm still trying to narrow down a date. It's tough out here in these streets, but don't worry, I'm gonna be bringing y'all plenty of content. But like I said, it's great to have that dialogue with different people, but you know, not everybody wants to be on camera for different reasons, and I totally respect that, and I can't wait until one day they do, because I'm telling you, they have a story to tell, and it's pretty impactful in a way that it'll inspire you, it'll open your eyes, you'll definitely learn a lot. I know I've learned a lot, so I'm just bringing it to the channel so that way, you know, I can spread the love. You know, I don't want to keep it all to myself, you know. So but nah, let's get into sports. Let's get into this, you know, all the drama and different things that we had to hear, and you know, over the last, you know, week or so or whatever. So shout outs to the Eagles fans. Yo, Eagles. I mean, we can say Phillies, right? Man, it's really good to be a Philadelphia fan, I must say. The Philadelphia Eagles are no joke. And like I said, you know, being a Giants fan, same conference, it's like, you know, the one time the Giants are having a good season, you know, we're overshadowed, right? And rightfully so. Jalen Hurts, all these guys are putting in the work, and it's been amazing. Can't say enough about these guys and the game that they played last night at the Texans. Like, I'm just glad when a lot of these quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts pretty much heard it all last year, how his job was, you know, pretty much called into question, let's be honest, numerous times by so-called experts, by his peers, by a lot of different people. You know, they'll sit there and say, oh, I don't know if Philly's gonna have him, and you know, for the future, not just talking about this year. And the fact that, you know, Philly doubled down, you know, tightened up their defense, they went out and got A.J. Brown, and just to see the difference, you know, a team or an organization, like how great they can be when they choose to build a team that plays to the strengths of your quarterback. Like, imagine that. Like, who would have thought that? You know what I mean? Like, there's so many quarterbacks that you can honestly say that, man, we can't even properly evaluate them because they wasn't put in the best situation under the best circumstances in order to succeed. You know, I mean, you see how the Packers are doing right now, right? And Aaron Rodgers, arguably one of the most talented quarterbacks to ever play the position, and everybody thinks it's, you know, Devontae Adams, he left, and now it's like, and we don't need to talk about the Raiders, right? We don't need to even do that because they're not doing well either. But I just mean the Packers, the defense, I mean, they were supposed to be, what, top 3? Nah, they have more problems than anything. They do choose to throw the ball all the time. They talk about the receivers, but yet you keep throwing it. they're not managing the game properly. They're not running the ball as much as they used to. Because at the end of the day, when you watch them run the ball, you're kind of like, maybe there's something there, and then you'll watch Aaron kind of like save the day, sort of thing. Because you're not asking that receiving core that you say that need time, that are not very good, that, are running wrong routes and doing all these different things, but yet you keep force feeding them. So, I mean, I get they got to learn, but I mean, at whose expense? Aaron Rodgers, the back-to-back reigning MVP and nowhere near MVP status this year, But it is what it is. I digress on that front. The Dolphins. Fins up, right? Shout out to the Dolphins franchise, because you guys have dealt with a lot. We're not even just talking about, the Tua, whole, fiasco, and shout outs to him. I'm glad he's healthy, glad he's well. I knew Waddle and Tyreek Hill were going to be good, but they're saying they're the best duo right now. I mean, the yardages that they're averaging, they're like unstoppable. Hard to defend, can't double them. We already knew. We knew Tyreek Hill. We know. We saw what he was doing in Kansas City. We know how fast he is. But being able to adjust to a whole new team, to a whole new offense, a new quarterback, new, offensive coordinator, new head coach, new culture, new house, living circumstance, because nobody even considers that, The routine is different. Everything is all switched up. Don't get me wrong, it's Miami. I'm pretty sure it must have been a pretty easy and comfortable, adjustment in terms of, status. But seriously, I mean, I think we also take that for granted, when a guy gets traded, and the fact that he's able to, pick up everything so quickly and really focus in and getting a lot of reps in with Tua and building that relationship, that whole rapport. They seem to really gel together. Like they actually look like they've been playing together for a long time, and that's not easy to do. So I don't know. I don't feel like a lot of light is being shined in that direction when it comes to that. Some people just, oh yeah, they're professionals. They're just supposed to. Yeah, they are professionals, but they're still human. There is a human element to the game. There is a lot of nuances that you're just not familiar with. There is a comfortability factor that needs to be taken into account, and the fact that he was able to just kind of go in there and, do his job and do it well, and also kind of back up everything that he's been saying. Because if you remember, Tyreek Hill does have a podcast, and he was, kind of getting a little bit of heat, saying, Tua is like the most accurate quarterback, he's ever had. And obviously that's kind of like, all right, you were just playing with Patrick Mahomes, dude. You won a Super Bowl ring. Like, chill. Like, you know what I mean? Like, come on. Like, I know you're trying to, boost the guy up, but, relax. But I'm just trying to give you some context, because it's one thing to say all those things. It's a whole nother thing when you're able to back it up. And the fact that Tyreek Hill is backing it up, shout outs to him, man. Shout out to Tua. I'm glad he's well and recovering. Shout outs to Waddle, man. I knew that dude was special. And he just, and the defense, mind you, the Dolphins just added to their defense. Didn't they just, was it Chubb, if I'm not mistaken? Whew. Dude. Like, I just love when teams make sense. When they see a weakness in their team, even though that they're doing well, they obviously have bigger goals than just making it to the playoffs. They're trying to win. And for the first time in a long time, we're kind of looking at these teams that we thought that would be in the mix, at least in the playoff hunt, in the playoff run. Now it's kind of looking like, I don't know. When you look at the Rams, like, what are the Rams? They don't even look like themselves at all. Excuse me, the Bucks. You can sit there and talk about Tom Brady's marital status at the end of the day, but that has nothing to do with what's really going on with the Bucs. You know, somebody made a really good point. They kind of said just because you have the same personnel, you know, doesn't mean that you're going to get the same results with a different coach. And I'm not trying to, you know, give any salt towards Todd Bowles. At the same time, you know, he's given a second chance over here, you know, so I don't want to, like, you know, knock on his parade. There's a lot of things going on. And at the end of the day, players got to play, right? And when you have injuries and all these different things that you have to take into account, you're not going to be as good as you thought you would be, right? But I'm just looking around, and you're just looking at the Broncos, and you're like, what's going on? You're looking at Seattle. Seattle's having a game. I mean, who is even Geno Smith right now? I mean, whew. I mean, it just goes on. Nobody, like I said, I thought the Eagles did really well. We're looking at the Jets. Some people are ready to get rid of Zach Wilson. Come on, you can't. I hate it when people do that. Like, yeah, did the kid get a little, you know, I want to play hero ball? Like, okay, he's young, he'll learn. Now, that's the real question. Will he learn from those mistakes? He made those mistakes. He made some questionable throws. We could also blame some of the receivers, too. I know there's a receiver out there talking about, you know, I don't know, I'm not getting the ball. Like, okay, you're not getting the ball, but what are you doing to get open to get the ball? Because if he's already making questionable throws, right, we're not going to keep asking Zach Wilson to keep making these throws just to make you feel better. You know, because at the end of the day, that's just going to lead to way more interceptions, more losing, right? The Jets don't need more losing. No. So, yeah, Jets fans, calm down. You know, New York is so hard to please. You know, so hard to please. I know I'm probably looked at as though I'm sitting here all smug with the Giants at 6-2. Yeah, 6-2. Nobody saw that coming, but that just goes to show you what happens when you change the culture around your team and you kind of get some guys out of there that I've been saying that you should get out of there. But yeah, just pipe down, chill. Zach Wilson will learn. I think I've seen enough to know that he's going to be a decent quarterback in this league. Now, what type of quarterback he's going to believe, whether he takes that next leap to the next level, that's going to be on him. And that's all has to do with judgment, right? You have to be able to use your judgment. You have to be able to understand the situation of when I'm just kind of giving what I'm just kind of doing what the defense gives me. Like if you're giving me that and I can throw it, okay, cool. But he just needs to calm down. He needs to relax. Just needs to pump the brakes, and so does the fans. Don't just ready to get rid of the guy. You know, that's not going to solve all your problems, and you're just going to be back to square one. Let's just take a deep breath, and woosah, everything will be all right. Kansas City, you know, a lot of people keep going back and forth with Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. You know, I'm personally on the Patrick Mahomes side of things when it comes to that, but I'm not going to sit there and discredit what Josh Allen's been able to do and the incredible, not only athlete, but the arm talent, like crazy. The way he's able to sling that, dude. And he did beat Patrick Mahomes this year, right? I mean, I told you, he was my MVP. If y'all been listening, y'all already know. And I told you before the season started, before anything started, barely training camp, I said the Bills were going to the Super Bowl, right? You know, it's going to be a tough road. It's not going to be easy. I'll tell you that right now, because right now we are halfway through the season. A lot of teams will come out and surprise you. There's going to be a couple of teams that's going to turn it around. If I'm willing to bet, because a lot of people are kind of going back and forth, whether it be the Rams. Personally, I don't see the Rams doing it. I think whatever juice, whatever high that they were running on last year, it just ain't it. I don't see it. I see the Bucs having more of the upside because they have more of the talent, they have more of the personnel, they have Tom Brady. Come on. I'm gonna bet on Tom Brady. You know, Tom Brady has enough credit, right, for us to sit there. You know what I mean by football credit, enough to sit there and say, you know what, we're gonna not just brush them off. You know, they still have time to turn it around. What that will turn out to be, I don't think that's going to be them getting to the Super Bowl, getting very far, but they will have a turnaround season, and I think it will shock some people and almost make it appear as though that they're ready for that, you know, that next quantum leap in order to get in. But it's just too crazy right now. Also, I wanted to bring up another point that somebody had mentioned. Who would you rather start your franchise with? Would it be Tua or would it be Justin Fields? Now, I know a lot of people would jump out and say Tua because they would look at their record, look at their, you know, their passing yards, and look at their touchdowns to, you know, interception ratio and things of that nature, you know, or even, you know, their quarterback rating, especially, you know, third down conversions, things like that. And I just feel like that's not always true. You know how I feel about just following the numbers, because personnel matters, team matters. Tua has a better cast of guys around him. Let's just be honest. Mostert, you know, you have Waddle, you have Tyreek Hill, you have playmakers. Tua has everything that he needs to be successful. Justin Fields, on the other hand, not so much. But he is proven to be more durable, right? I do like the way he moves in the pocket. Can he work on his accuracy? Yes. He still has things to improve on. I feel like his ceiling is a lot higher. But if you don't have the necessary guys around him, I really don't understand what people really expect. And that's what leads me to go back to, you know, the Packers analogy, you know, with Aaron Rodgers. You know, you see how talented Aaron Rodgers is, and look at the Green Bay Packers record. You know, it's not good. You know, at the end of the day, and all you can do is just sit there and wonder, I wonder if the Bears will actually play more to Justin Fields' strengths, give him the personnel that he needs, because obviously we're talking about next season. But these are the things that they should be looking at. They should be evaluating and seeing how they can get better, and those are the ways that you can get better. Instead of just kind of writing the guy off and seeing where they'll ship him out next. You know, I just think that's just so pointless. But all we can do is wait and see, and see what's going on. Lamar Jackson, man, I so desperately wanted that guy to get his contract, and you know, the way things are turning out, and another wide receiver injured, you know, which is definitely going to make it a lot harder, you know, especially when it comes to the passing, because that's pretty much what he wants to showcase out there. When he's like betting on himself, we already know he can run. We already know how he can evade defenders, make them look silly. You know, we know he's got an arm, but we're more worried about like the fine tuning, right? The accuracy, you know, those short pitches, those screen passes. We're also looking at, you know, throwing guys open without throwing that interception, right? Especially late game. Man, late game, I think it's like in the fourth quarter where he seems to have the most trouble. I don't know if he's like, I don't want to say he's the worst out of the starting quarterbacks, but he's pretty bad, you know, when it comes to the fourth quarter, when you're talking about being the ability to be able to put up points, convert on those third downs, and once again, that I will attribute that to the personnel, right? Did they really give Lamar Jackson the personnel that he needs to be successful, like other quarterbacks definitely enjoy, and maybe even take for granted, for that matter? Sure, that's a given. I think we can make our peace with that and kind of say that. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, right? But football season's gonna be heating up, and like I said, I'm gonna start making your picks. You know, I've already made mine nice and early, so nobody can say anything. I'm sure they will, but you know. Oh, I should also bring up that the Patriots are definitely turning it around. Should never count Bill Belichick out. I know that there was like a little, I don't want to say, quarterback controversy, but I know some people really love the quarterback controversy between Dr. Z, right, Zappy, and Mac Jones. But come on, man. Like, yeah, Zappy is good. Like, he is. But I think it's too early to sit there and say that he's better than Mac Jones. We saw what Mac Jones did last year for a full season. He's still learning. He's still growing. He's still understanding, the offense and how things run. But you already know how Belichick is. They're going to run the ball. It's predicated on their defense. Their defense is going to win you those games at the end of the day. And yeah, that was a little fun watching Dr. Z Zappy back there, because he was doing his thing. What a nice thing, right? When you stay ready, very professional, right? You stay ready, next man up. You come right in there. You're able to win some games, and it feels really good, until you get pulled and you kind of get snapped back into reality. Like, dude, like that was cute, but we have our QB1 right now. Y'all can, duke it out in training camp next year. But as for right now, Mac Jones, that's our guy. And that's who we rolling with. So, but I digress. On to some NBA action. NBA's heating up. We're only about 9-10 games in. But, man, do you see what Utah is doing? It's only been 4 games at home, and they're like 2-3 on the road. But Utah, man, and they're playing the Lakers tonight. The Lakers, they rattling off some wins. So, they're starting to feel themselves. And I must say this. To everybody who was on Russell Westbrook and, pretty much just chastising him, I just have to say that I told you he wasn't the only one that was the problem. Because even when he was benched or didn't play for that one game, you see how they still lost anyway, right? Now, his role coming off the bench, I like that role for him. And I was cool with that. Whether he was cool with it was a whole nother story. But like Darvin Ham said, we don't have time to be holding hands and caring about people's feelings. We trying to win games, and I hope that's why you're here, is trying to win games and trying to put this team in the best situation in order to do that, and if that means Russ coming off the bench, let's get it done. And the Lakers made those adjustments, and you see how hard Anthony Davis is playing, and even though you can see like the back soreness, and he doesn't look 100% comfortable, like after like halftime or even the third quarter. After a while, you kind of see him with his back and feeling sore and tight, and it's like, oh man, 82 games is long. I'm not gonna lie, it's a long season. It's hard when you have those back-to-backs and you have a couple games a week. I definitely feel for these guys for sure, but you definitely do worry, and you worry about the miles that's on LeBron and how he's still putting up the numbers that he's putting up at his age. And he's like, man, when am I going to get to relax and kind of have, somebody else be number one, and I can kind of just defer to them. When are the Lakers going to get some shooters, right? Now, Mr. DoorDash over here, what's his name, Matt? Or Ryan? Sorry, the guy that hit the game winner. Yo, shout outs to him, man. Staying ready when the coach calls you in. And shout out to also Darvin Ham for putting him in the game, to, relying on him to knock down that shot, sending the game into overtime. If you don't know which game I'm talking about, that game was, that was one of those games where it could have went either way, and by him knocking down that 3, kept the Lakers in that game in order to at least have a chance of winning it, by knocking it into overtime. So that was sweet. I know that must have gave them some type of resurgence, and I like how LeBron was able to reference that game from years ago when Darvin Ham, when they did that in Miami. I'm like, wow, when you talk about a basketball savant, a student of the game, that's LeBron, man. Like, to be able to just pull that, and speaking of which, Ja Morant has also kind of done that as well. when he knew that when he got Ben Simmons to foul out, right? Yeah, sorry for all you basketball junkies. You know what I'm talking about. For all you guys who are just trying to follow, you got to follow and just watch all the games, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And John Morant, if it wasn't last year, it was the year before. John Morant kind of was just like, it had to have been the year before because Ben Simmons didn't play last year. So he kind of just like held the ball, like just kind of going over, just getting past half court, and he knew Ben Simmons would go for it because Ben Simmons literally did the same thing, like making that silly foul, and it's like, dude, that's the difference between smart defenders in terms of being a student of the game, understanding, situational basketball, understanding, kind of like deja vu in a way, like, oh, we've been here before. And John Morant was able to recognize that in the moment, in the game, coming down the court, and he just kind of looked at Ben Simmons, and he's like, I know he's going to go for the ball. All I got to do is protect it, and he's going to foul me. I'm going to go to the line, and that's going to be that. I mean, awesome. I mean, basketball IQ, I love that. I love when guys are kind of have that heads up, play to kind of, that wherewithal to kind of know how to navigate situations like that in the moment, that situational game, presence. Like, I love that. That's awesome. The Nets, you already know what's going on with them. I'm going to save that for a whole nother episode if we need to talk further about that, but basketball-wise, they're not good. Outside of Kevin Durant, he's probably the only consistent one putting up numbers. What is he averaging? 30? It's a shame. It's a shame. Because if you love basketball and you appreciate greatness, and Kevin Durant is great. He is one of the most elite skilled players at his size, just in general. I mean, guys that don't ever touch the ball. Like, this is Kevin Durant, sniper. And it's just being wasted right now until the Nets are able to get some type of direction and try to figure them out. I'm not even gonna touch it, to be honest with you. At least for right now. Another shocker, right? We already spoke a little bit about Utah and how nobody really saw this coming. But Danny Ainge, we should have known something. We should have known something. When he wanted Sexton and how he has marketing, like he has a squad. He has a squad, and he wanted to make sure of that. The Cavs, man. Some people are looking at the Cavs I'm like, it's simple. You remember Brooklyn when they actually had culture and they had a lot of positive things going on, and they were making the playoffs, and they were making some noise, and people actually wanted to go see the games, and they weren't last in ticket sales, right, and filling the arenas. Oh yeah, that was before Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. If I had told you that 5 years ago that the ticket sales would be a lot higher now than they were, than they would be if they had Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, you probably look at me like I'm nuts and try to just shut my whole channel down, right? But at the end of the day, it is what it is. This is where we're living. This is reality. And that is a fact. And why do I say all this? Because the Cavs have Karis LeVert. Do you remember him? Yeah, he was one of those who led the Brooklyn Nets in scoring until he had that injury. Unfortunately, that ended his season. And then Dinwiddie stepped it up and took it to a whole nother level, right? You also remember their best defender, with blocks, rebounds, Jared Allen. Yeah, they're on that team. Yeah. The Cavs have leadership. Kevin Love is still there. I know a lot of people are like, what? He's still... Yeah, unfortunately, he's been through a lot. But at the same time, don't forget about Kevin Love, man. Don't forget. The Cavs are out here balling. Garland only played one game, and then he had the eye injury, right? And they still winning games. Donovan Mitchell is no joke. He's out here letting y'all know. It's nothing to be played with. Who else? Who else am I thinking about? I'm just thinking about the fact that Donovan Mitchell's numbers are up exponentially more than he was with Utah. And I know a lot of people were kind of like, well, Donovan Mitchell he's already hit his ceiling. He's not going to get any better. He's not going to, all this doubt, hate, whatever, what have you. And I'm so glad to watch him prove him wrong to watch him prove everyone wrong that actually said that nonsense. Because at the end of the day, the dude can ball, and I knew he would be one of the greats, man. He just needed the opportunity, better situation. He obviously just wasn't getting it in Utah. I'm sure he didn't know he would get it in Cleveland, but shout out to the coach as well in Cleveland, because they just have it all together. The way they're able to come together, the way they're moving without the ball, the way that they're giving up the ball too. It's amazing. The ball movement, the spacing, because they actually have shooters. I know the Lakers are over there probably drooling, because when you have shooters on the team, like, spacing doesn't become an issue. And which brings me to my next team, the Timberwolves. Now, Minnesota is full of talent. I always said with them it was going to be a maturity issue, right? Yeah, they can use a shooter too. They can use another shooter, someone off the bench, someone with some scoring. Mainly, they have an issue with spacing. And that was one of the knocks that they had when you have those two bigs, when you have Karl Anthony Towns and you have Rudy Gobert clogging up the middle. And, and then you have Anthony Edwards making jokes like, hey, every time I go to dunk, it's like I'm about to dunk on one of my own teammates, because it's like they're clogging up the paint, and these are big dudes. These are not little dudes, and it's just kind of like a back and forth thing. You hear in the press conferences about what can the team do, especially like more of the veteran guys like Karl Anthony Towns that's been in that organization for a little bit. Like what can he do to kind of get Anthony Edwards where he needs to be, and he is young, so it's gonna take time. We're not just giving up on the guy. He's a good guy, very talented young man, I must say. And Karl Anthony Towns said some interesting things about, how he talks about Popeyes and, eating that, and, and everybody laughs. And Karl Anthony Towns was like, yo, I don't find that funny. Like he was saying, we're high level athletes. Like, what do we look like eating, Popeyes? Like, that's not funny. That means you're not taking care of your body. That means that you're not providing your body with the nutrition and things that you need to do to be able to do the crazy good things that we can only dream of doing, right? And that's just keeping it real. So I don't know if that's just something that they need to, one of those road trips that they go on where they'll have some type of a bonding experience, because I know a lot of guys, that's usually what tends to happen. You go on like a road trip and you're traveling together, all the time on the road, and you kind of have conversations where you kind of bond with guys and kind of gain some perspective, have an understanding, and seeing where guys are coming from. And it just makes it a lot easier when you're trying to get to know someone, off the court, and then kind of hoping that it translates on the court, But that's going to take time. We're going to see them go through their ups and downs throughout the season. Rudy Gobert, he's the new guy in town, right? That they traded a lot of picks for and things of that nature. And who knows? I don't know if that's what Karl Anthony Towns and what Anthony Edwards wanted. I don't know that, and Russell as well. Like I said, like they just telling you, maturity is just a big thing over there, and it'll be interesting to see what happens, before the trade deadline, and that sways off, and seeing what they'll do. I guess they're still just monitoring them and seeing their progress, and if it looks like some changes need to be made, then they need to be made. But I would say they need to be made sooner than later in terms of shooting. It would be nice if they had a nice shooter. If they had like a Jordan Clarkson type dude, That'd work. That'd work. But yeah, but I'm glad that the NBA's back. I know it's just starting. Guys are just getting used to things. Celtics, man, you got to feel for them a bit. They were kind of under the impression that Ime Udoka was just going to be suspended for a year and that he would be coming back. It was never made clear to them that he just wasn't going to be with the team anymore, even though understanding all the allegations and things that are out there, in my mind, just understanding how the world works and society works, I didn't see how that was going to work. So, once Steve Nash got fired, as you all know already, and probably saw that coming in terms of it only being a couple of games in, but they had to do it, guys. I've already told you, they didn't want to make it seem like they were doing it, just for Kevin Durant when he had mentioned that he wanted Steve Nash fired in the offseason. They needed a reason. More than just, hey, I want my boss fired. Or my coach fired. Like, okay, well, you're not winning games. Okay, done. Next. And now Ime Udoka has arrived as the front runner, and I know Sean Marks and everybody's denied it, but we know better. Right? We know better. That's like saying, okay, yeah, all GMs and front office people and governors, they all tell the truth all the time and let us know all their moves. Come on. Nor would I expect them to, but I do expect for Ime Udoka to be the coach of the Nets, and that's gonna be some type of serendipity type of thing. That's gonna be so epic if they're ever in a series together. And if you love basketball drama, you want that. You definitely want that. It's just But at the same time, if we're being realistic, it's really not that fun because the Nets are really not that good right now. So just on paper, drama aside, you're thinking to yourself, wow, they could figure out some things there and make that work. But let that be up to the powers that be to figure that out. And trust me when I say the Nets drama is not over. But I also hope that it didn't just begun, because we can only take but so much, right? But I love the way Tatum's playing. I love the way, Jaylen Brown has come out and play. And Al Horford, man, enough is not said about this guy. Such a classy guy, right? Even when he was speaking on behalf of Ime Udoka and just because, he had other situations going on, he never wanted to take away what he meant to him and, as a coach to them and that organization, and said he wishes him nothing but happiness. If that's where, he decides to go with the Nets, then, that's going to be up for them to figure out. But, he was saying he hopes he does get it, and he hope he's happy, if that's what he wants, and that's just a classy move by Al Horford, just a classy guy. That's just kind of what he does. But just to kind of jump back, even with the Nets, just understanding how difficult that might be with Ime Udoka and the Nets, because if you do want to play devil's advocate or just kind of be a realist, how is that going to work? If you have guys on the Nets that are not really comfortable with taking accountability unless forced to. And did Ime Udoka technically, own up to everything that he needed to do? And some people be like, yeah, he did. He got embarrassed, blah, blah. So the Celtics suspended him 1 year. That's what they decided. 1 year, right? Now, I know a lot of people are like, well, why didn't they just fire him? And, well, that's how business works. Because in his contract, if they had fired him, they would have had to pay him, and he would be able to accept another job. They didn't want to do that. yeah, they were being probably super petty. Call it what you want. If you were in that situation, probably would have did the same thing too. So maybe that makes you hypocritical for saying that. But moving on. They suspended him because they felt like they wanted him to be held accountable for his actions according to the contract that he had signed. We don't need to keep rehashing and going into the details why he, was fined, and because everybody has their own take on it, and the rules are the rules, but I guess only when it applies to certain people, right? But that's just what happened. He broke the rule. It's that simple. Here's the consequence. But if he's able to take this other job and he starts, let's say in a month or sooner, was he ever really accountable? Was he ever really held accountable, I should say? Now, you're going to sit there and tell me, well, why should the Nets, hold him accountable when he didn't do anything to them? Very true. He didn't do anything to the Nets. But if we're trying to put him in a leadership position, right, and you're going to sit there and try to hold guys accountable, especially guys like Kyrie Irving, you don't think that's going to come up? Oh, so you want me to be held accountable, but at least I didn't do X, Y, Z. Like, I don't know. That just sounds messy to me personally. Putting, like, when things are already messy, it's almost like you want to get someone to clean it up. But usually the person that you get to clean it up is someone who's not a mess themselves, and not saying that he can't coach and not saying any of these things, but let's just keep it real. Like, the elephant in the room needs to be addressed. I'm just simply addressing it. It just seems like, especially what's going on right now with the Nets, it's tough. Now, can he just go in there and hopefully Kyrie just plays ball and maybe he does want to play for him? That can absolutely happen. It's just, I'm just playing the odds. Like, if you're betting your money on it, I don't know, you're kind of crazy if you ask me. Like, I don't know, but I'm definitely anxious to see what that situation would look like if Ime Udoka indeed did take that job, and to see what's going on moving forward, because like I said, I doubt this is the end of it, so I don't even know what is to be expected at this juncture. Excuse me, but it is interesting. And good news about James Harden's foot. They said it shouldn't be that serious, but they did say he would be out about a month prior to saying that. So it's kind of a feel thing. Now, if you're the 76ers, you may not want to rush him back. James Harden was already dealing with the hamstring, kind of looked like a shell of himself last year. We're really not trying to go down that road again. I don't think Embiid is trying to go down that road again. So it's like there's a couple of things in the East that we have to, like, definitely be mindful of and play very close attention to, just to see exactly what's going on with that. So yeah, it's been a long week. It's been a full week, but I appreciate you guys sticking in, staying in it. I only ask you guys to do one thing: losses equals life lessons. Peace.
Gotta be true to yourself. In a world there's nothing else. Gotta play the game right, gotta make your path. You scratch, you dig, you lay on your ground, you bustin' your rounds. Nobody gon' stop you. No ops, no cops, everything about you looking good, you good, she good. Y'all people really wanna know the reason. It's that ripple effect. That's just that ripple. That's just that ripple effect. What you do, come back triple.